This is Joe Grappone of the Tourette Association of America. Welcome to our second chapter and support group webinar. Tonight we will be featuring fundraising and marketing. Our first speaker handling the fundraising portion of our program will be Tracy Alexander, who is our National Director of Development. And our second speaker will be handling marketing, which is Megan Burns, our Digital Marketing Director. So without further ado, Tracy, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. This is Tracy. I'll just give a quick brief background on me. Thank you for joining in tonight. We're really happy to be here, and Megan and I are just super excited about this because we've been working on it. We have a lot of great information to share out to you all, and our hope is that at the end of this, we will have answered some questions or maybe given you some insight into our backgrounds or how to effectively do some fundraising, but also to effectively market our brand and help you grow within your local markets. So quickly, I am the National Director of Development. I've been with the association now almost a year. Well, my year anniversary will be in September. It's been a great experience and I love being here. Before I came on board, I've been in development with a number of different national nonprofits, including March of Dimes, JDRF, American Heart Association. So I do have a deep background within the development field, which I love to bring to the table here. And I was also in marketing and advertising for a number of years. So I sort of bring all that together to help companies grow and to help people get out in the community and fundraise. And now I'll pass it over to my partner here, Megan, who will talk about her.
Thank you so much, Tracy. So welcome everybody. My name is Megan Burns. I'm the Director of Digital Marketing here at the Tourette Association of America. So first off, I'd like to say Happy Tourette Awareness Month to everyone. This is my favorite time of the year. This is my third Tourette Awareness Month with the association, and there's really truly no better time to see our mission in action than during Awareness Month, and I like to say that at conferences as well. Some of my most notable accomplishments with the TAA. In 2016, we launched a new website, which was really successful, and increasing our social reach. We've doubled, in some cases, tripled our presence on social media and establishing a presence on Pinterest and LinkedIn and other platforms. And some of the social campaigns that I'm most proud of that you guys are probably familiar with would be the Rally for Tourette campaign around Advocacy Day, and which has brought in millions of impressions over the years. So that I'm truly proud of. So as we dive into this presentation, the structure is going to be a little bit different in that the format is based on actual feedback from each of you that we received at our national conference chapter leadership meeting. And it's really going to outline our discussion today. Our goal is for it to be interactive. We really want to know if the tools that we're providing you are helpful and assisting you on a daily basis. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to launch a poll to kind of gauge some of your feedback. And so this poll is, what do you hope to gain from this presentation? And you can just answer it on your panel there. So I'm going to give you a minute to answer.
We're hoping to keep everyone engaged and away from the TV tonight.
All right, so it looks like, we're getting some feedback. So it looks like people are wanting fundraising tools. Majority are looking for marketing and fundraising tools, which is great. So we'll, it looks like we're getting an even distribution. We'll just wait another moment.
Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Everyone's chiming in.
I know, I love that. Okay, so it looks like, Tracy, most of the constituents that have logged in are looking for both marketing and fundraising tools, which we were hoping for as the answer. So let me close this poll out and continue on.
And thanks for everybody for answering, because that's very helpful for us.
Yes. So, okay, so as I mentioned that this is going to be structured from conference takeaways, here are the 4 questions. They're based on outcomes, like I said, from the chapter leadership meeting that we're going to talk about today.
Can I just preference actually?
Yes, of course.
So this chart that you see on your screen real quick, these were actually takeaways from national conference, the chapter leadership training. So what we did in order, and we chose, is we really tried to pick some that we thought would be helpful to everybody. So these 4 that you see are the ones that we think actually would be helpful in discussing, your major questions about fundraising and marketing. So I just wanted to give you a background on where those came from other than just off the chart. So go ahead, Megan. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So like, as you can see, the 4 questions are: how can we attract and engage more members and volunteers? What are some effective ways to fundraise? What national resources can we tap into? And how can we manage all of these priorities and not burn out?
Very good question.
Yes, so let's just dive right in. So for the first question, how can we attract and engage more members and volunteers? I think this is a great question. And so from a marketing perspective, the first component of this would be branding. So while most of you have all of our branding resources, after this webinar, we're gonna resend you some of our brand guidelines and tools that can help you. But the overall look of anything that goes out, so our flyers, our email, any social, it should all be consistent and it should all look the same. You should leverage our, like I said, the brand guidelines for our color palette, our logo usage, and just capitalize on any templates that we provide. And then that would segue into a steady flow of communication. So sending out regular emails to your local list of constituents about various events and news that's taking place within your local chapter. And then social media, which we're going to touch on later. We have a guest speaker logging in to talk about that. But really leveraging the power of social media. And then, of course, grassroots marketing. So Tracy's going to go into this in more detail. But as you go about your daily lives, be sure to weave in some of these tactics, leave flyers about your support groups, events, capitalize on anything that you're doing in your chapter with local grocery stores, businesses, your friends, families, schools, and so on. And now I'm going to pass it off to Tracy to talk about some of the fundraising components of this.
That's great. So let me just answer real quick or sort of touch on grassroots, the word that Megan used for grassroots marketing and community work. And that really is the term that I always like to come back to because it's so true. And what that basically is saying is it's old school, out in the community, getting the word out, boots on the ground sort of thing, which is great to do if you can do it. I know everyone's out working and has busy lives and all of that sort of those things going on, but grassroots really is it. We all are on social and we all do our personal marketing, but when you're out talking to your local dry cleaner or your hairdresser, that's grassroots right there. So let's sort of circle back and talk about, how can we attract and engage more members and volunteers? Very grassroots. It's all about creating awareness in the community. It's all about talking about your passions and how you're involved with the organization on your local chapter level. Letting people know that you're within the community. One of the feedback that I receive a lot, and we all do actually, is that a lot of people aren't aware that, chapters are in the local community. Well, how do you do that? Well, you can reach out to your schools and your social groups. You can reach out to hospitals and let them know that you have resources right here within your community. Let your doctors know or reach out to other doctors and just let them know that you're there, that you're a resource. If somebody's newly diagnosed, let them know that they can call, they can email, just reach out. That's all free. So it doesn't really cost you anything to do that. There's no, supplies involved in that. Just picking up the phone when you have a minute or two and just sort of reaching out. A lot of communities, especially this time of year, have events. They have community fairs. You can table at those. A lot of them will let nonprofits or businesses have tables, like a lot of the sidewalk fairs and park fairs. You can just, if that's going on in your community or a local community, just call and say, hey, we're with the TAA. Would you mind us setting up a table and just handing out, materials or whatever it is you may have? They love stuff like that. So that's another way that you can attract members and volunteers. When you're doing things like that, you can talk about your membership or, your support group if you have one. It's also a good way to attract more members to start a support group if you don't have one. The other great way to find people to get involved, not only as members but volunteers, is to go on Volunteer Match. That's, I think, a highly underutilized platform. You can put in, if you're having, you could just, if you need someone to help you with, reaching out to local schools or doing grant writing or helping you work with your your social or whatever needs you might have, put that up on Volunteer Match, another free service which will get you out there. And then, as Megan, is really focusing on, is a lot of the social feeds and the marketing. So
I just want to add to that too about Volunteer Match. So as you all know, we have our big national walk coming up, the 5K run walk, and we actually bring in 5 or 6 different volunteer groups to help us with the walk through Volunteer Match.
Yeah.
We find it very successful.
Yep. So I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to there. So those are just some of the ways. And then once you get them in, how do you engage them? You just get them involved. You invite them to your chapter, meetings or your support groups, or, plan an event together. Just keep them engaged. Thank them for their time. See what their interests are. Are they interested in volunteering to work in a support group, or are they interested in connecting you with the local community? You want to see what their strengths are and what their interests are, because when you are able to do that and they have the time, they're going to connect with you more, which means then they're going to be like, hey, I just started volunteering with this great organization, or I'm a member and they've been really useful for us dealing with what we're dealing with where we are right now with Tourette's in our family. So, just sort of think outside the box. And, if you need some ideas, just reach out to us.
Great. So we're going to move on now. So the next question that we have is, what are some effective ways to fundraise? And so again, from a marketing perspective, in addition to the branding and the communications, which I touched on already, another very important thing for us at the association would be that I think you guys can utilize is calendarizing yourselves. So coming up with a plan for what's happening in your local communities, and giving yourself the proper lead time to have communication, social, emails, everything built and ready to go. It will make everything so much easier for you. So some examples of this for the association that you guys can take away would be, for any events, we have certain lead times for planning. So 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out. 3 months would generally be when we'd start communicating for local webinars, some of our smaller events, and we would do that through sending out emails and social. 6 months would be our Team Tourette events, any of our runs, symposiums, information for our doctors, CBIT trainings, and then 12 months out, we would start planning for conference, gala, some of the really massive events. And within each of these events, we have generally 5 to 7 touch points that happen per month for each of these events through social media and through email. And how we structure them is we share a lot of personal stories. That has been probably some of our most successful components of our communications plan. Our event details, various calls to action, and so on. And then, of course, I work closely with Tracy, so marketing plays a big role, but Tracy will talk more about the fundraising components that go into the day-to-day.
Sure. So this is a great visual that Megan got for us for this. And let me just again mention, make sure, if you want, I think is this handout like attached? Can they can download this?
So I'll make sure that everybody gets these slides as well as a copy of this after.
Okay, great. Because this is a great reference tool for you. So, remember to check back in if you have any questions with this, or reach out to us. But I particularly love this slide because it really does sort of encompass fundraising. Starting with, money. Of course, that's that's what fundraising is. I always like to preface it as fun, F-U-N capital, raising. So
fun for you.
Fun, not always, but yeah. So keep it fun. That's always my motto. Keep it fun. Don't, this should never be a chore. So we'll sort of go around real quick because I know we're tight on time, but let's resources. We're going to get into resources in a second, so I'm going to sort of take that one off the table right now. But there are definitely different ways you can fundraise. All too much to go into this whole thing, but we'll just do a sort of a quick glance at it. There's grants. You can, look into your area foundations. Interestingly, and a lot of people don't know this, national companies actually offer grants that you can apply for as a chapter. That would be including things like Panera Bread. If you're in, the East Coast, Wawa, they have different, they either sponsor events, they donate money. Alex and Annie is another one. So I don't know, depending on where you are geographically, stores like that will actually hold in-store fundraisers where you can go in as a chapter or part of a national organization and say, hey, would you partner with us and do a fundraising night for us? And then, they'll give you some of the proceeds back. Chipotle does things like this, Panera Bread. Check into any of your local restaurants. Our national walk is coming up on Sunday, and I don't like to spend money on anything. I mean, that sort of defeats the purpose of where your money is going when it's raised. And we went from, I think 9 in-kind sponsors last year to we're almost 20. And a lot of that is food. So we have a local company donating, pizza. Dunkin' Donuts is giving us Munchkins and coffee. So be creative in what you can do with that. But they, like I said, the national companies all go back. They do grants as well. Utilize your online fundraising tools. That would really be, more of your social. Do your events online. Megan can talk more about that. Special events, always a great way to fundraise because people want to get involved. Financial endowments, well, that's always interesting too because no one really thinks about that. But you can go and you can have IRA rollovers. You can designate the TAA or your chapter, or have people that designate the chapter as a beneficiary. Donor advised funds, estate beneficiaries. There's so many ways that that you can look into some sort of recurring gift, matching gifts. I'm more than happy to sort of help you explore your options within your area. Support, that can be just including friends, family, and your local community. And again, going back to in-kind donations, don't hesitate to reach out to your local community to see if they're interested in donating anything that you might need to help your chapter operate more effectively.
Yeah, that's great. And so since we're talking about local community, we just want to launch another poll. And we want to know, do you feel that you are making an impact in your local community? So we're going to give you, so. Yes, we're going to leave you a couple seconds to answer that. 100% yes all the time. That's great.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Some not consistent. Okay. 50-50.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting to watch the numbers change.
Yeah.
And this actually helps us, like as the national office, it actually helps us sort of know where to focus our attention in the areas to help you all better also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say some of the answers that are coming in largely are coming in not consistently. So what that will do is help us structure what we give to the chapters monthly. Tools that we give will reach out and make sure that you have everything you need to be consistently making an impact in your community. All right, good. So I'm going to close this out and then we'll continue on. And so now here we have the donor engagement life cycle. I love this graphic.
It's another one. It's great because again, it speaks to the story of keeping people engaged. So first of all, what's the donor engagement life cycle? Well, what's your donor? Your donor is, someone who obviously, gives to your chapter. It's very important to, unfortunately, and we're guilty of this here, and it's hard because we have a lot going on. people donate, and we really aren't unable to keep up with every single person. But as a chapter, that's sort of your lifeline. So you want to keep them engaged, and you want to make sure that you thank them. So, so let's just sort of start at the top left. We'll work our way clockwise and go around. So we want to recruit and inspire. What does that mean? Well, just like, how did we just talk about getting more volunteers and members and keeping them actively engaged? We want to.
And sharing information on social media is
Right.
important, which we'll get into more after this slide.
Yeah.
But that is really the lifeline to inspiring your community,
Right.
is sharing those personal stories, which you are our mission in action.
Yep.
So you get those stories every day.
Yeah, it's very important that we we keep it a two-way conversation and open airway, if you will, so that you can help us spread your what you're doing, and vice versa. So we want to recruit and inspire. We want to learn. We want to learn not only about our donors. It's very important to know who is donating to us and keeping our chapter offices going. We also want to learn, as much as we can about, teach them the mission and what they're out in the community talking about, because your stories are what really is going to inspire the community, as Megan said, and keep them engaged. Keeping them engaged through social and support groups and working as volunteers and at your chapter meetings. That's very important. Then you want to, for a donor, you want to make that ask. You want to ask them to donate to your chapter, because again, they're your lifeline, and the more money you get in, the more efficiently you'll be able to operate. So I'm more than happy to help you through that ask and to sort of direct you. I always say to everybody, nobody likes to do it. Even like asking for in-kind donations for events. But my firm belief is that the worst that can happen is somebody will say no. So then you want to move on to the thanks. And the thanks, I think, on here is probably the most important aspect of this chart, because a thankless, it's just, you just need to get that thank you. I am a firm believer, old school, of handwritten notes. I think it's very important that that everyone receive a handwritten note. And I know it's hard, but just if you can just thank your donors as best as you can in any format or outlet, trust me, it goes a long way. And you just sort of want to repeat that process. You don't want it to be a one-time donor and gone. You really want to keep them engaged to keep this cycle going. So.
That's great.
Sorry, I get a little wordy sometimes. Sorry.
So I just want to shift for a moment, and I want to talk about social media. So I love this graphic, by the way, because I think it outlines all of the various social channels that can help us on our day-to-day, in our day-to-day efforts to increase awareness, right? So I'm just gonna, you guys can have this to go through it at the end of this presentation. But so first and foremost, social media is free. There are very little free tools out there that have as much impact as social media. It shifts the power from the few to the masses. It's fast, it's influential, it's measurable, which is key for us, and it connects people with like-minded interests. We've asked a special member of our community, Danielle Natoni, to discuss social media. So Danielle is a member of the Texas chapter. She's a mother of a TAA Youth Ambassador, Bianca Hinson. In addition to her role as wife and mother, Danielle is a world-renowned fitness expert and entrepreneur. Through the power of social media, Danielle has taken her reach to close half 500,000 followers across all her platforms. And I'd love to introduce to you Danielle. Danielle, are you with us?
I am. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I want to encourage anyone who has questions after this to reach out to me. There's so much to cover in social media, and we have such a short amount of time. So I really want to give just some brief highlights, but I would be happy to connect on a deeper level with anybody who wants that. So please feel free to reach out to me. So the first thing is it says Facebook and Instagram 101, and you're thinking, well, wait, the previous graphic showed, Pinterest and YouTube and Twitter. And what I would say is find the two that make the most sense for you. And for most people, that's Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is great for sharing, quick shares. And Instagram, of course, is really great because it's eye-catching. And honestly, it's the hottest social media platform right now. So while you could absolutely use Twitter or invest your time in making Pinterest boards, if that's something that you enjoy already, then perhaps tap into that. Otherwise, honestly, I would focus your main attention on Facebook and Instagram, and that may make you feel a little less scattered or feeling like you're trying to do too many things in one place. The thing that works best on Facebook for your purposes probably will be creating Facebook events, which are really easy to do. And one of the great things that you can do for this is something called geo-targeting, meaning you can narrow your audience down to the location you're looking for. So for example, in the 5K, if you were running one locally, it probably doesn't serve you to have that go out to people on the West Coast if you're on the East Coast. So you can actually click and highlight the cities that you'd like to geo-target in your search and when you create the event. And so that's going to be something that will help you potentially. It will get maybe less eyeballs on your event, but it'll get the right eyeballs on what you're looking for. Also, tagging and sharing are critical. So on Facebook, you can always just click share, which the Tourette Association does a great job. You'll see a lot of their graphics get shared a ton. And so always encouraging that in your post. So if you have an event that you are trying to promote or something that's fundraising, actually having that call to action in your post that says, please share this so that other people can find it. So that way that it's not only just the people who are currently following you, it's a way to get new eyeballs on what you're doing. And tagging also as well. So I think how the Tourette Association had found me before even Bianca and I became a youth ambassador was because I would tag any related posts to when I was talking about Tourette. So making sure that you're encouraging people to tag in post will always be critical, as well as tagging any person who is in the photo. So if you're doing a photo of a bunch of kids, making sure that they're tagged, their parents are tagged, because every time there's a tag on Facebook, it's going to pop up in other people's news feeds, as well as on Instagram, there's something called the Explore page, which is that little search function on the bottom there where you will see posts that Instagram thinks you would like. And so this will help you get that post to be seen by more people and potentially to have more eyeballs on what you're doing. And calls to action are really critical because people inherently are busy and they're scrolling quickly at a stoplight, unfortunately, or on a break during lunch. And so they want to know, what do you want them to do with your post? So when you say something like, click like if you have a kid that this affects, or tag 3 friends and help us get the word out about social media. Just to give you an unrelated example, we are having some car issues with our car. And so yesterday I made a call to action on my post for people to tag and share this with everyone they knew. And so I have like over 300 comments on that. And that is a way to get things out. People just want you to tell them, what am I supposed to do with this post? What do you want me to think about it? So telling them, even drop an emoji and you're probably thinking, why do I have to say drop an emoji? But that's the world of Instagram. So maybe drop a heart, kind of like the poll that we just did. So drop a heart if you feel like we're making a difference in the community. And it just gives people a simple way to interact with your post without having to think about it. Because a lot of times what happens is people see your post and they think how awesome it is, but they don't actually click like or share or comment. And those are the analytics that are going to help you reach so many more people. Now, if your chapter does have a Instagram account or whoever's using it, I highly recommend a free service called Linktree. And what Linktree does is allows you to create one simple page where you can put any links. So for example, if you were to go to my Instagram and you were to click on the link that's in my profile, it would take you to my Linktree where I have 3 different links right now that you can click out to. And the reason this is important is because on Instagram, the only actionable link is in the bio. So if you make a post about your upcoming fundraiser and in the written text you put the link to donate, they can't click on it. They're going to have to directly copy and paste that or type that into their browser. However, if you had a link tree, you could just say, to donate, please click the link in my bio. And then you would have however many different tabs you wanted, to different fundraising, to just perhaps joining your chapter, all different things that you can put there, and it's completely free. And so it just makes things really simple for people who are following you. Image quality matters most. And so one thing is that's super important is text graphics do fine on Facebook. They do not do as well on Instagram. And the reason that text graphics do fine on Facebook is because we can easily share those. So for example, the Trade Association often will do like infographics that have great information on them. And those do really well on Facebook because you can click share and share those with your community. However, on Instagram, I can't do that. I can repost it, but those aren't visually eye captivating, which is the whole reason of Instagram. So on Instagram, I highly recommend that you use actual images of kids and of your members and your chapter and your activities, and make sure that the image quality is good. There are lots of free photo editing apps out there that take seconds to just brighten any photo that's a little bit too dark. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me and I would be happy to do a deeper dive with any of you who want more information. But the other piece is don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. So on Instagram, square images do best. So if you have a longer image that perhaps worked well on Facebook, modify that image so it fits correctly on the squares on Instagram. And I know you may be thinking, this all sounds really silly. But like they said earlier, social media is free. It is a free way for us to connect with people who want to help us get the word out about Tourette. So just by following some of these simple steps, it's really going to help you reach so many more people. And some just quick do's and don'ts, because I'm sure that there's so much more of the webinar and I don't want to take up too much time. But some quick do's and don'ts in general are, make sure that if you do have an Instagram, that the handle is really clear and easy to understand. I don't know if there's already guidelines in place for chapters to have specific names and branding for their social profiles. But if there isn't, I highly recommend perhaps you guys all collaborate and come together on an idea of what makes it easy to find you guys when searching. Also, making sure that the profile picture is really easy to see in that small circle when you're looking at it on your phone. And so I'm not sure, again, if everyone just uses the Tourette logo or if you guys use different things for your chapter, but making sure that it's really easy to see. And another thing that is kind of important in a way that you can engage with people is making sure that your messaging is open both on Facebook and on Instagram so that people can directly message you and you can respond back and connect with them on that one-on-one level, because that's a way that a lot of people are looking to engage. So sorry, that's my cat. He's really loud. But again, if you have questions, please, you can email me. You can follow my social profiles. I posted about Bianca from time to time. I actually did a Tourette-related post today as we went for her well kid checkup. And so I'm always happy to help you understand social media a little bit better. And I get for a personal profile, sometimes it can be a little bit easier to build on social than when you are an association or a chapter, but it can be done, and it's something that you get to do and is a free way for you to reach people. And I'm super passionate about social, so I'm happy to give a deeper insight if needed.
Thank you so much, Danielle. That was so helpful.
Great.
I actually want to go back and talk about two key points that that I think were really important. So the first is I put up the slide about all the different social platforms, and I forgot to add the caveat that I am a firm believer in doing something and doing it well. So I put up that slide for everybody to learn about the social platforms that are sort of out there and gaining traction. But I do not suggest that everybody goes back home and starts a Pinterest for their chapter, and a Twitter and a Facebook and Instagram. I would pick one and do it well. So like Danielle said, picking Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook or Instagram, and starting there would be a really good starting point. And then the second thing that I thought was really noteworthy is Danielle mentioned that we found as the association Danielle through social media because she was tagging and sharing. And I can't tell you how many constituents I actually form a connection with, and we utilize them from time to time for their stories and their information, and so many people are willing to get involved. So that is so essential and so key, that to tag and share other information. I just think that was really noteworthy. So that was great. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you.
So as we move on, so the next question would be, what national resources can we tap into? So from marketing, we have tons of information for you. And like I said, after this webinar, we're going to email you with a bunch of resources so that it's front and center. You can save it on your computers and utilize it. So various flyer templates, informational templates about news and chapters and support groups, press release templates, if anything interesting and noteworthy is going on around you in your local community with some of the youth and some of your adults. We can offer you web guidance and design guidance. Thanks to our CDC grant, each of you should have all received a huge packet of our toolkits last year, of toolkits, resource guides, and other information that is professionally produced and printed and branded already for you. And then our brand manual can help you with different things, which we'll send to you. And what I like to call the low-hanging fruit that is easy for you for one thing to get involved in today and do is we send out association-wide emails the 1st of the month for various events taking place. The 15th of the month, we send out Direct Connect, which is the message from Amanda, which covers the topics of awareness, research, support, and events. And if you look at it, I think Joe sent it out today. We're starting to now add more of our chapter events that are happening as we receive them. So it's great. Please keep sending them to Joe because we'd love to promote them for you. But the low-hanging fruit would be to share that out with your network. And then, of course, our social posts. So as Danielle talked about some of the Tourette posts that go out, we have at least 1 to 3 posts that go out daily that you could just share with your network as a starting point. And then once you feel comfortable, you could start weaving in your own communications. But this gives you a few touch points a month that are easy, that you can just share with your network, like I mentioned. And then Tracy, I think, has a couple more to add.
I do. I mean, our resources for fundraising are probably not quite as extensive as marketing, because marketing does share out even all of our fundraising efforts. But, I do have, and I have attached some of these, but we can also send them out. We have template letters you can use to solicit donations to your local businesses or companies or whatever, anything that might help you, get a sponsorship or get a donation. We can work with you on, looking into grants or working with foundations. We have, so templates for that things. We have papers and information about different fundraising ideas you can do. It's just basically a sheet of different ideas and creative out-of-the-box ways for you to raise funds in different manners. We also have we also have, our Team Tourette, which is a huge resource for people. If you want to just to start a walk or do a 5K or something, we have those resources here. We also have, I know some fundraising information was put out in the chapter chapter manual at National Conference. There's a portion of the fundraising that is on my list to do, but one of my goals is to actually update that and make it a separate document. So that it's easily accessible and you can, it's a quick read and a quick ready reference. Also, I know a lot of you have had questions in regards to budgeting, also in regards to fundraising. That in and of itself is a totally different topic, but I'm more than happy if you want to reach out to us here at the national office. I can help you sort of establish a budget and help you, set a goal and sort of guide you, gently guide you as much as I can to reaching that goal and helping you achieve what you're looking for at that end result. So I think that's pretty much it for the national resources in regards to fundraising.
Yeah, no, that's great. So Tracy touched on the chapter and support group operations manual that you guys received at our national conference. So we just want to put out a poll to find out if you found that manual to be helpful. And so you can answer that here. And if we find that some people have not received them in the handout, sometimes, okay, yes, all the time. In the handout section of this, you can find our chapter manual there, the operations manual there.
Great.
Never received.
Okay.
Good. So that's evenly split. So it looks like people find it helpful and sometimes helpful. So we can put out a survey after this to find out what sort of information you'd like to see added to it, changed. That way it could be the most optimal for each of you.
Okay.
And if you haven't received them, again, you can download it in the handout section, and we will be following up with an email with a number of resources.
Great.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. So as we continue on, the next slide here is, and you might have seen this from our first chapter webinar, but how can we manage all of these priorities and not burn out?
Yes, our daily mantra here. That is, I think, just an overall question about life in general, but we will put it into the context of doing all of these things. So this slide was actually taken from a chapter strategy session at our national conference recently. And was put together by Sarah Hamilton, who did a presentation / workshop / SWOT analysis with the chapters. Again, if you were unable to attend that leadership training, we suggest that you let us know, reach out to Joe, and we'll make sure that we can get you that information. But we like this in regards to this question because I think there's just a high burnout factor in life in general. So, in regards to, marketing, fundraising, and marketing in general, there are easy ways. And the easiest way is to actually just sort of pick your priorities. As Amanda always is saying to me, because I'm notorious for this, don't get caught in the weeds. She's always saying that, because I'm always like, I've got like 1,000 projects going on, and I have, if you could see my office, I have those giant yellow Post-its that are the size of a car, basically, in my office with different projects that I'm working on. And I sort of, there's a lot of things that I want to accomplish. So I think what's important to take away from this is really figure out what your priorities are, what can be easily achieved in the less amount of time or the least amount of time with the greatest impact, which would be like your quick wins or your major projects, and see, what those might be and put those at the forefront of what you need to do. And your lesser, priority items, put those down at the bottom. Unfortunately, you don't want to keep recycling those and putting them down because they'll never get done, but you really want to just sort of set, what's your end goal? What are you looking to achieve? What do you want to accomplish by the end of the month or the end of the week even? Megan had said it earlier, and I live by this too. I'm a big calendar person. So it's helpful, on a Sunday night to sort of look at your week, in life in general, but in regards to your chapter operations, where you are, what you need to accomplish, and just sort of, you could even use it like this, a color-coded system. But look what your quick wins are going to be and your big wins, and just try and focus on those. So otherwise you'll get overwhelmed and a little deflated. So.
Yeah, that was going to be my 2 cents too, is that we all know that you guys have a lot going on personally, your families, jobs, just other priorities. So we truly thank you for the work that you guys are doing.
Yes.
And we are here. I know Tracy and I work all the time. So we are here as your resource, honestly. And
we love it.
And we do, truly. We are here to help you plan and schedule and meet your goals and see you all be successful as chapters and support groups, and
Yep.
Just have everything on hand.
Yeah, it's important to us, and it's important to us to be able to help you, as much as we can. I mean, that's why we're here.
Yes.
And we hope that you utilize
Yes.
us.
So before we get into the questions and answers, oh, I can't speak there, panel.
Okay.
I know it's been a long day. So first, you can utilize your questions panel to type your questions in. If we have time to open it up, we will. You can use the little hand raise, and we'll open you up for discussion. But use the questions panel on the right-hand side. But we're going to launch our last poll. And I hope the answer is going to be yes, but it's all anonymous. So, so did you find this presentation helpful? And I'll give you a moment.
Crickets.
Good. I like to see it somewhat. Good. Well, we are going to, like I said, we are going to be launching a survey. Yeah. So we'd like to know what it is you're looking for.
No, and yes, I mean, and please be honest, because it takes a lot for us to put these together. So we'd really like to be able to know that, like, we're sort of meeting the needs, and we're not missing the mark. So it's very important for us to know all of this stuff. So.
Good. All right. So now that leads us to the Q&A. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to let you guys start putting in your questions. So looks like we're getting a couple questions in here. And the first one is, it's for you, Tracy.
Oh, okay.
How do we hold a fundraiser if we have no money?
How do we hold? That's always the question of the year. Resources. Free. So, if you're looking to, figure out what you want to do, actually what you're trying to raise money for, that's the first thing. So say you're trying to raise money for, I wouldn't even know, but I'm sort of brain dead right now. But say we want to raise money. So what's going to be the easiest avenue for you to get there within your own community? Donations. See if you can get the location, figure out where you want to do it, when you want to do it, but see if you can get the location donated. A lot of places are happily ready to donate some space for a nonprofit. And then in regards to food, you can see if you can bring food in. Community churches are always nice, or community organizations will offer up their space, but ask a way to get as much as you can for free. Especially now, there's a lot of people who are willing to sort of go above and beyond to feel like they're making a difference. See if you for invitations, do it socially. That saves you money right there, or make phone calls. Food, again, like I said, go to your local restaurant and see if they will donate a couple of pizzas or whatever. So just be creative, and it'll all come together.
Great. So the next question is going to be for me. We don't have social media yet. Is there a best platform to start with? So I would say, so we talked about this a little bit earlier, is I wouldn't go get multiple platforms at one time.
No, it's overwhelming.
I would start with Instagram or Facebook and build your network there. And once you have a good, what you feel is a good following and a good response, there are analytical tools, and which we could go into that if need be. Maybe we'll set up a part 2 to this. Oh, and Danielle said here, start with Facebook or Instagram, like I just mentioned. So yeah, so I would start with Facebook or Instagram, and then you can go from there. All right, so another question is, we struggle with people knowing who we are and that we're here in the community. What can we do about that? So without sort of going back down, and talking about some of it, the highlights of that would be, again, leveraging social media, going into your community, creating branded flyers, utilizing the various toolkits that you have, and just circulating them around your community. And honestly, sharing the association communications that we put out will just be a helpful starting point. If you're consistent, that is key. Okay, so some more questions that we have here. Someone asked about the templates. So I'm actually going to email each of you the templates that we're going to be handing out about it. I'm going to give you a generic event template and an informational template where you can just input your information into it, and then that way you could share it. So most of the work in the design aspect of it will be done. So I'll email that to you after. All right, so.
I think that one's interesting.
All right, so the next question here is, we have found the 80-20 principle to be at play in our chapter. Every now and then, new names are floated to join the board and help really drive the chapter, but seldom does this turn into any real commitment to the chapter. How do we get more people to join the critical 20% and help avoid burning out the existing key volunteers? I think this is an amazing question, and I'm going to let Tracy talk about this because we too struggle with this.
I would think historically and running up against this issue is, as much as you can, find co-chairs, people who can divvy up that role, as opposed to just one. Make sure, a lot of organizations, schools, they sort of use that format so that there's not just one chair or one treasurer. If you can find a working partner to help you sort of alleviate that and sort of split tasks, that's actually one thing you can do. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, what's the actions speak louder than words. So you do a lot of times get people who want to join in, they're hot and heavy, they're willing to do whatever, and then sort of burnout does strike. But I do think that has a lot to do with not divvying up those roles and sort of spacing it out and sort of being realistic in what needs to be accomplished. So if you can find that, that might help. And, and taking a step away, when you need to sort of clear your head and sort of regroup is always helpful also. I know that's a hard question to answer, but.
Okay. And we got another question in from Amanda, and it says, I'm setting up a booth for our Thursday night market for donations for Camp George in Southern California. I live in Northern California. How do I keep the chapter separate for awareness and donations? Camp George is part of the
Is part of the California South chapter.
Amanda, we might need to reach out to you offline more to go through this, but I would just say,
for more clarification for what the question is. We keep the chapter separate for awareness and donation. Well, what I would certainly do is, if it's to keep donations, that's actually, I would just set up 2 different areas for the separate locations. I would have one earmarked for Northern, one for Southern. And just, if you're going to be at the same table, just make sure that your information is aligned with that area chapter. That's probably the easiest way. And even if you're unable to be there and someone else is manning that table, just make sure that that's it. I would also, the one thing that I actually neglected to mention, but which also can be helpful, is when you're doing things like this, make sure you're bringing a sheet of paper. Have people, when they're coming up to your table or your booth, sign in. Capture that information, capture their name, their contact. Ask them if they'd like to volunteer, ask them if they'd like membership information, and always bring even little, if you can do it, like little donation cards, because they might want to actually, or little buckets or something, but that's how I would do that.
Yeah, I think that's great. So it looks like we're getting out of time at the moment.
This was fun.
So if anyone has any questions, please reach out to Tracy, myself, Joe. Again, we are here as your resource. We truly thank you for logging in tonight, and we really just want to see you guys
Succeed and grow. Yeah, so sorry we have to cut this short because we are running out of time. But thank you so much for sharing your Wednesday night with us. This was a lot of fun for us, and we're looking forward to doing it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.